Can you afford a property here in Marrickville?
Here we are in Marrickville, 7 kilometres west of the CBD. Marrickville is one of the largest suburbs in the inner west, almost 6 kilometres squared. In fact, it's bound by 9 suburbs, including Enmore, Stanmore, Dulwich Hill and St Peters. The suburb was ranked 10th in the coolest neighbourhoods in the world by a recent survey completed by Time Out. In the 1920s and 30s, Marrickville was commonly known for the many manufacturing businesses that occupied all the warehouse spacing in the area. There's a mixture of architectural style dwellings from older style terraces to freestanding bungalows and also new developments on the former warehouse sites. The suburb is serviced by retail facilities along Marrickville Road and Illawarra Road, as well as a shopping centre known as Marrickville Metro. The median house price in Marrickville is currently sitting at approximately 1.4 million, whilst apartments are sitting at around 750,000. 10 Moncur Street is an example of a median house price sale recently in Marrickville. The property sold for 1.485 million. The property is on 234 square metres of land. It's a single-storey freestanding dwelling built in the 1920s, providing 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom and a courtyard. Unit 6 of 31 Henson Street recently sold for $706,000. It is an average example of an apartment sale in Marrickville. The property comprises 2 bedrooms, a balcony and parking for 1 car. The complex was built in the 1960s and comprises 8 apartments in total. Should you consider the Henson Street apartment for investment purposes, you would be looking at a rental return of approximately $420 per week or $21,840 per annum. Once we factor in strata, council, water, insurance and property management fees, the net income is approximately $15,000 per annum. Assuming you put down a 20% deposit and have an 80% loan over 30 years paying principal and interest with a 2.5% interest rate, the shortfall would be approximately $12,000 per annum. The average house in Marrickville rents out for approximately $725 per week, which is resulting in a 2.6% gross yield. Units rent out for $450 a week, resulting in a gross yield of approximately 3.1%.
As Kelly mentioned, the median house price in Marrickville is looking at about 1.4, and the median price for a unit is about $750,000. For some people, the hardest thing is getting to that deposit. If we're looking to buy that $1.4 million terrace in Marrickville, we're going to need about $285,000. And if you're looking to buy that apartment for $750,000, you're going to need a deposit of about $150,000. Now, how did I come up with those numbers? What those figures are about 20% of the property value. And the reason why we're looking at a 20% deposit is to avoid lender's mortgage insurance. If you have less than a 20% deposit, most banks will require you to pay lender's mortgage insurance. In terms of getting to that deposit, a few things to think about. If you are in professional services such as a lawyer or accountant, some lenders will lend you up to 90%, meaning that you only need a 10% deposit without paying for that lender's mortgage insurance. 2 other things to consider is potentially looking at a personal guarantor for maybe your parents or loved ones. The 3rd thing to contribute towards that deposit may be using equity in your existing properties. One way to get you that deposit faster is considering the First Home Super Saver Scheme. Terrible acronym, but what it can do is actually save you thousands of dollars in tax. And the way that it works is you put money into super to then potentially take that money out of super to then buy your first home. Beyond the deposit, we really need to think about stamp duty as well. There's a lot of conversations around, is stamp duty going to be abolished here in New South Wales? At the moment, it still exists. If we're buying that $1.4 million terrace, we're going to be hit up for about $63,000 in stamp duty. If you're looking to buy that $750,000 apartment here in Marrickville, you're going to be hit up for about $29,000 in stamp duty. One thing to consider is there is a stamp duty exemption up to $650,000 and there is concessions up to $800,000. So if we're looking at that $750,000 apartment with that concession, rather than paying the $29,000 in stamp duty, you'll only have to pay $21,000. One of the biggest mistakes we help our Fox and Hare members avoid is leaving things to chance. So if we're looking to buy that $750,000 apartment and it's our first home, we've got a few facts that we know to hand. The deposit we need is going to be about 150 grand. We're going to need about $21,000 in stamp duty. which means in total we're going to need $171,000. Now, what I often see is when people are saving for their first home, or their investment property or upgrading, they're just leaving money in their bank account and they're not really accumulating a specific amount on a monthly basis. Whereas I know if you put away $4,000 at the end of each month, then you'll have $171,000 in about 3.5 years' time to buy that amazing, beautiful apartment here in Marrickville.
In 2024, Sydney is going to open a new metro line. This suburb is going to have one of those stations. What that means for people living here is the commute to the CBD is going to be cut down from 35 minutes to 15. Based on 5 years of sales, Marrickville saw a compounded growth rate of 20% for houses and 16% for units.
Assuming we've got the deposit covered, we've purchased that $1.4 million house, and we've just taken out a $1.1 million loan, if the interest rate is about 3% on that mortgage and we're paying just under $5,000 per month, it's going to take us 30 years to pay off that loan. If you're able to put an extra $1,500 against that mortgage on a monthly basis, you're going to be able to pay that mortgage off a decade sooner. If you're able to increase how much you're putting against that mortgage to say $3,000 per month, you're going to halve the amount of time that it's going to take you to pay that debt. So rather than 30 years, you'll be able to pay it off in 15 years. When you take out a significant mortgage, you really need to think about your broader goals, and one of those potentially being, when do you want to be debt-free, have that sense of financial freedom and true independence. My role as a financial advisor is to ensure that our members avoid two really common mistakes. The biggest mistake I see people make when it comes to managing their offset account is they're dipping into it all the time, using it like a slush fund. The second most common mistake I see people make is if they're living in a property that they own and they have the intention for that to become an investment property, they don't utilize the offset account to ensure that they reduce their future tax obligations.
My biggest tip when considering to buy in Marrickville is to get online and check out the flight path, because some parts of Marrickville have a stop the conversation type plane noise, where others are a little bit more distant and easier to handle.
My top tip is around diversification. I love property. I'm invested in real property, but you really do need to think about your broader goals as well.